last month on when I say things are getting close to being completed, you kind of got to remember that things move pretty slow. Because I think they're close, but they're really not as close. So, but anyway, the 20.
The echo.
I'm sorry. This is like instant replay. But anyway, the 2700 project is about 60% in the design. That set will be, so anyway, our projection on getting that out to bid for that lift station will be towards the end of November, hopefully a little sooner.
Good.
We're being a little conservative on that, but so hopefully we can start seeing that get out, get moving. We want to get that project up and going as quick as we can, but so that's what I think last month I said that it was really close to being sent, and I found out that we weren't as close as I thought. The 4700, the fence around that you have, or the 4450, that fencing you have, I think that's in your packet. We didn't send that. We went out to actually several different fencing companies to have that fence work done. We've specified it. We could have almost just sole sourced this project because we're trying to keep all of our sites uniform. We want the same rock wall, same wrought iron, same everything, for a couple of reasons, not just aesthetic reasons. That it looks good that all of our facilities will have that same look, but we have leftover panel from 4700, and which is the big concrete, paneling. We have an extra one of those and the wrought iron section that was extra. And he said there would probably be that happens on most of the jobs we do. So if we have one of them that gets broke, it's just, we have them, so we can just replace them. So by keeping them all the same, we have spare parts, spare things. It's just gonna make it nice for not having to go out to get that. So anyway, they reached out to, Gardner reached out to several different fencing companies. Some of them weren't interested at all because they didn't do the rock. The 3 or 4 of them that were pretty interested in doing it, a couple of them backed out right at the end, so they didn't give us a price. I think Roy Lance Fencing, they didn't want to do the rock wall portion of it, but they said they would do the wrought iron across the face, which actually is a little bit cheaper than what Rocky Mountain was going to do that portion of the work. But then again, it's just nice to have one company kind of come in and do it so that they're not getting a grading off or find out, well, this doesn't line up the way we thought, or so it would be nice just to award that project to Rocky Mountain and have them do that project. So that's on there for your approval. They're the ones that actually, he gave me this pricing. I put together the 80,000 I think we put in for the project clear back before when we was doing our budget. So he gave me this quote clear back in April, maybe even earlier, with the idea that prices would probably go up, things get more expensive as time goes on. But he says, I gave you that quote, I'm going to stick to that quote. So I feel like we actually got a pretty good deal. I don't know that if we do find someone that could do that, I don't know that we'd get that price.
Right.
So it's my suggestion that we award that to them and move ahead with that fencing. And that'll get to a vote item here eventually, I'm sure. The manholes on 5100, that's another project that we've got to get out. We have that. It's a problem that we've had, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before. It's where Hooper pumps their line into our line on 5100, and then it transmits from south of 4000 all the way down to where the elementary school's at. That's where we tie in on 51 to the Central Weber. And the kind of septics or the kind of pump systems that they use down in Hooper, there's only 2 of them have ever been put in place at any city. It gets really septic. It sits, it doesn't pump as often as it should. And so they've gone away from even using that system since they put that in. But the odor is horrific down there. If you've ever been at the corner of 4,000 and 5,100, sometimes it's pretty bad. And what they did, it's emitting a lot of gases into that 5,100 line, into that line, and it's eating our manholes. They've all been lined, but it's eating the lining and eating what it can. Luckily, the main is plastic, so it's not affecting that.
Wow.
But I get complaints constantly from people that live on that road because of the smell. Well, one of the things with manholes on sewer, you use a vented lid. Most of your sewer lids have holes in them. That's to let the gases out. They went before I got here, and I just noticed when we was looking at why these manholes are getting so bad, is they put sealed lids on everything, so that gas really can't get out. And I know they did that because I didn't want to hear the complaints from the residents, which I understand, but there's a point to where if it can come out of all the lids, it isn't as bad in one spot.
Right.
And it's usually the same people that are calling, and it's really bad kind of there in that one spot. But what it's doing is it's pushing the gas now up the lines, up into the neighborhoods, and it's starting to affect them manholes and complaints there where they wouldn't be getting the complaints up there. So we have 8, I can't remember, he told me today, 21. I had him go count them. There's like 21 manholes along there that are all got sealed lids that we may look to replace. It ain't gonna do good to do 1 or 2 because it'll just make that area bad. So we're gonna try to vent all the lids. We're probably gonna get some complaints for a little bit, but I think we'll just have to monitor it. I don't know what else to do other than let it keep eating. It's gonna go to where it can get out. The gases will travel up the lines and through the neighborhoods, and we're gonna keep sealing off lids and rot and eat the whole sewer system will break down. So I've got to get it opened up and get the air, or get that vented. So there's some different things that we're looking into. I've researched some of the different treatments that you can put in the lines that actually helps it, neutralizes the odor, and some different things that we're going to try to do some different things with those manholes and see what we can do. But we may be getting a few complaints, so if they reach out.
But a lot
to
of
the
this is
board,
being originated from Hooper?
Yes.
Is there a way that they could flush the line a little more often? I know then it puts more into the sewer than, the cost of treating and things, but.
If it was they don't run a lift station like we do. We gravity feed 2 lift stations. The lift stations use force mains to push it down somewhere, and it goes. These ones have like small little manhole lift stations in front of like 3 or 4 homes.
Okay.
And they all go to that. And so that thing has a float system that just takes forever for that to get high enough to actually turn on the little pump and send it out. And so it gets kind of septic in each one of them. It's pretty bad. When we open them manholes down there, the odor is bad. But it's not only the smell, but if you're getting into some of that, in like the MS5 gases and stuff, like that's deadly.
Yeah.
It's explosive. It's a bad thing to keep trapping it. So we're in the middle of trying to resolve some of those. But with that, there's one manhole down there that we had talked about that's really, really bad. I put in $150,000 to replace the manhole. They would be tearing out the road. We were trying to get ahead of the timeline of replacing that 5100 West going towards the school. We don't want to have to tear that up after, so I was trying to get ahead of that on a project, but we've looked into an alternative. Companies that have come out and said that they can line the manhole. They could actually refurbish and keep the manhole so they wouldn't have to dig it out and put a manhole in, which is a lot less money. So we're gonna try to go that route. I want to see if we can't get that out. We had 3 companies come out. The first one said, we can't save that manhole. There's no way you can reline it, it's done. So I was like, gosh, we're gonna have to dig it up. Well, another company come out and said, yeah, we can do it. And a second company come out and said, yeah, that's something that can be done. So
I remember discussing that here a few times ago. Ryan, you brought that up on your phone and looked at it.
yeah, so I think that's
Good.
the route we'll try to go on that manhole. We're still trying to, that fixing the manholes down there is one thing. Trying to get ahead of the problem and get that resolved is probably a bigger thing too. You know what I mean? We don't want to put something in there and then in 10 years we're doing it again.
Right.
Let's try to fix the problem. Maybe we work with Hooper, see what we can do. We got rid of the 2 trucks that we had for sale. The Canyon, it sold for $20,000. The Ford Ranger sold for $25,000, so they're at least out of the yards. That's good to get rid of them. The pump that we have in the building is on the auction right now, and I think it's up to $25,000. It closes this Wednesday, and I think our reserve on that was $30,000. So I suspect that we'll reach that reserve, and hopefully we can get that sold
Good.
and out of there and put our new one in there. Our new one's sitting outside. So, Avenue, that's the firm that's looking into the land acquisition for the new building and stuff. I just talked to her today, and she's got the title abstracts and the summary kind of put together. She'll get that to me tomorrow, so we can kind of see what we want to do with those land. At least it'll show what utilities are there, what easements are there. It'll give us an idea of the ones that I've kind of went through a map and gave her like 10 locations. So it'll maybe help us narrow them down a little bit. Then they can start going out and talking to some of the landowners.
Good.
We got a new employee. Ty started last week, and he's one of them that we got from Clearfield, and he seems to be right up to speed. I mean, it was a good hire.
And he's a full-time for the sewer.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. So him and Nate are out doing a whole bunch of stuff that we were a little bit behind on and getting caught up on some different projects. So it's good to have him on board, and he's a really likable guy. He's reliable. I think we did good there.
Good.
Clearfield's going to hate me if I keep stealing all their employees, though. And the only other thing that we have really out right now is the IFFP, the IFA. Like, maybe you can tell us where we're at with that.
I want to optimistically say that we're very close of coming up with an impact fee analysis.
Good.
It's with the the financial consultant at Lewis Young Robert, Fred Philpott. And I think our anticipation is to have him here for the December meeting to make the recommendations to the board to adopt the revised impact fee. Then we'll get on top of the sewer rate fee. And then the next step would then we turn to the water side and reset the utility rate fee for that.
Good. Good.
That's all I have.
Okay. Ed, was there anything else that you had? Or any questions for John?
Do you have any questions?
Thanks, John.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
No, I was just going to report on the IFA, which John led into
Okay.
it anyway. So.
Great. Thank you.
Good.
All right. Number 5, any questions on the fencing before we put this to a vote? Okay.
Talked about it a lot.
Okay. Then we'll entertain a motion for action item for the award fencing project for the 4450 West Lift Station.
I'll make a motion to approve action item number 5, award fencing project for 4450 West lift station.
To that company for that amount.
Sorry. Rocky Mountain Fence Incorporated for $77,720. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Let's take a vote. Ryan?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Melinda?
Aye.
And I'll also vote aye. Sean, you like to take a moment here, or as long as you need?
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come and to coordinate some issues that I think are a part and associated with the city and with the district. As you know, the district has always, and the city have always had a unique relationship. And that shows up in the financial accounting of the two organizations. Even though the district is a separate entity, according to accounting standards, because of the unique relationship, including some of the city council members being a part of this body, and I believe appointing too, is that correct? I think they have the appointing authority. The fact that the city provides and has a contract to provide services, and you provide utility services to the residents, those are some of the factors that lead these accounting standards to require the city to report the district as a component unit. And it's noted in your financial statements as well that, for financial purposes, they're reported as component units. And so a couple of items that the city has come to its attention that it is trying to address is currently right now, as you know, we share services for accounting and financial services through Child Richards, and they have been working for both cities or both entities, and they recently requested a new letter of engagement that included an increase in their fee, their monthly fee. Right now, it's a flat fee of $5,000. What they're proposing is it would jump to, I think it's close to $6,500. $6,250 per month. So total, it would be $75,000. So currently, right now, as you know, we have an interlocal agreement. For some reason, as we put that interlocal agreement, we missed including that item as a shared cost. And so that's something to consider. And we anticipate that it's about $11,000, the district share of the accounting services. I can't remember the percentage. I think he told me, I have it written down somewhere, is it 15%? I think they estimated about 15% of their time is attributed to the district's business. So with that, the city is currently considering the increase in fee, which may result in revisiting our interlocal agreement to decide, how equitably the city and the district should split that cost. Having said that, I think it is important that whatever, however we divide the cost, that we should always use the same firm, just because for reporting purposes, it makes it a lot more difficult to have two accounting firms, trying to interface and make, decisions on financial presentations of numbers and different things like that. So another item that we're looking at making a small modification, it doesn't really affect in practice what we're doing, but I think on paper it reflects the value that Child Richards bring and the amount of work that they do. So currently we have a city treasurer, and that's a required statutory position for the city, and that's being fulfilled by specifically Ryan Child. He has assigned one of his associates, Amy Davies, to primarily do the financial director position and all those functions. And so the city is thinking about essentially creating that position formally. And if they do move forward with creating that position, I would anticipate that the mayor would appoint Amy Davies to continue in that position, and that the city council would affirm that appointment. But that's yet to be determined, but I anticipate that's going to happen. So they have prepared a new letter of engagement that includes both the city and the district, and I believe it was in your packet. Yeah. And so you can start to see that structure take place. Well, one of the things I mentioned that the council is reviewing is credit cards. And I mentioned that right now the city is paying exclusively for the costs of the Child Richards fee. And we equated that to about $11,000. Equally, an equal amount that's being borne by the district and not by the city is credit card related fees. As you know, the district provides the billing services for the city, and as a form of payment, the district allows and accepts credit cards. There are fees associated with the processing of credit cards. You have the gateway fee, which really is that secure portal that's provided on the internet that processes the transaction. But then there's also the processing of the credit card, which is a merchant account, and that there's a fee associated with that as well. I think it's typically anywhere from 2 to 4%, and it really depends upon what card and what promotion they're offering to their customers for the use of their card. And so we talked about it at a city council meeting, and it came to our attention that the city has some big bills that can be paid on occasion, typically associated with building permits, and that when people come and purchase a 12-plex or a 24-plex, those fees, including building and impact fees, can really be expensive. Well, we recently realized a charge of about $4,000 in credit card fees, which brought the discussion to the forefront of how is this something we want to essentially absorb, or should we have essentially a convenience fee? And in discussing it with the city council, I think they were more inclined to have a convenience fee. That is, that fee would be charged and passed on to the end user for their convenience of using that form of payment. There are some rules that I really need to dig into as it relates to the merchant accounts, because they have rules that kind of dictate how we charge those fees, and they get pretty particular, and that's something left to be done. Okay. But that's the direction that the council would like to consider. Where that comes to the district is, right now you're absorbing those fees, and portion of the bill is attributed to the city, and a portion of it's attributed to district utilities. And it really makes sense to have the same policy about fees for credit cards. I think it would be really hard to split the bill otherwise. And so I think that's something that needs to be discussed at the district and decided how you would like to proceed. Something else that Sharice and I were looking at, although I'm not really sure how this is gonna play out exactly, but there's some efficiency, again, because of the unique relationship between the two entities for procurement. And procurement can be pretty time intensive and take resources. And so ideally, it'd be great if we could streamline that procurement. If the city procures someone, you could essentially use that same vendor because we've gone through the procurement process. And that's what we were hoping to accomplish, and we still hope to try to do that as best we can. But there are just different rules for the city and the district within Utah Code about how procurement can be made. And so we're trying to essentially evaluate how we could be a little bit more efficient in those items. So all that said, this is leading to a discussion on a future board meeting of amending our interlocal agreement to essentially address that we would anticipate it would behoove both cities or both entities to have the same financial advisor and same financial services with accounting and with audit as well. As there's for example, Amy, as a finance director, prepares the yearly end financial statements, but those are audited by an independent firm. And so to essentially have the same accounting and the same auditing, part of both entities. So that's one. Credit cards, how we handle credit cards is another point that I think would be well to formalize within our interlocal agreement. and potentially procurement. So those are just items that we're trying to do more work and research on, and come to the board with a formal proposal in the form of an interlocal agreement. Having said that, if you have some guidance or direction or concern at this point, we would love to have that
Okay.
feedback and direction, and we can keep that in mind as we try to work through these issues.
Great.
So, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to
No,
answer those.
I guess
and-
on the billing, do they, can we specify who pays with check or who pays cash or who pays, can you break it down to see where that's at like that? Okay. I figured they could, but that's out of my wheelhouse.
Express Bill Pay, what are they, gateway fees, is that what they're called?
Well, Express Bill Pay is, I think, the gateway fee.
Yeah, so they have different fee structures for checks versus electronic transfers
Right.
and cards, so it's all broken down that way.
Okay,
We can pull that information.
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Establishments are starting, as the last few months, I've noticed that they're starting to offer discounts for cash.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, we'll move forward. And if you have, at a future board meeting, if you have ideas or suggestions after you've had a moment to think about it, would welcome those as we move forward and try to put a proposal together in the interlocal agreement.
Great.
So,
Thank you.
okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, I guess we don't need to, number 7 is a Central Weber update. Anybody? Ed, want to enlighten us? Okay. I guess with that is, if Hooper's tied into ours that goes to the treatment plant, do we get billed for what they're adding into our system on 5100 there? Whatever minimum amount that would be, but,
Yeah, we do, but we also bill Hooper.
okay. So there's a way we can monitor what they add to okay.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yep.
Good. Thanks. All right. Number 8, the consent agenda. A is action on minutes. B is the billing adjustments. C, monthly accounts payable for October of 2024. West Haven City, $51,416.67 for the invoice 10202426 administrative services for September 2004. E, West Haven City, $24,104.65 for the September 24 storm drain fees. F, West Haven City, $73,890.68, 2024 September for the garbage fees. G, Central Weber, $344,148 for the third quarter impact fees. Then H, Roy City Corporation, $9,791. This is a typo on there. So $9,791.60 for surplus water. We'd like to entertain a motion to vote on consent agenda number 8.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, A through H, with the correction of the typo to $9,791.60 for surplus water to Roy City Corporation.
Ooh, second?
You got it.
Okay? We've got a motion, we've got a second. Let's go ahead and, Melinda?
Aye.
James?
Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
I also vote aye. Adjournment? Make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
All righty. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
I'm glad you caught that. I had it written.